Hey everyone, Plot SM. Welcome to the very first part of our Modified Hiro Lancia Delta HF Integrale Evolution video build. So, okay, this is a daunting build. I'm not going to lie. If you've seen the review, yes, this is probably going to be my most in-depth, technical build I've ever done. There's a lot to this. It's a lot of different skill sets, different things to do. So what I decided to do was I ended up with roughly about 13 hours footage for the first part. Now I can normally get into one part, two at a push. But I thought because of the kit, because it's a whole different technique and skill set, I thought let's use the footage, and I've managed to get 3 videos out of the first part. So the first 3 videos are going to be focused on getting the main engine built. So that's what you're going to see. So it is going to be a little bit more in depth. We're going to focus in part 1 today on the preparation of the parts, how I've opened the kit up, not how, but you've seen me open the kit with the review, but how I've sorted the parts, how I clean them up, degreasing them, getting some primer down, get some, it's my intro into how I'm going to tackle these parts. And like I say for the build, I could have bought a magnetic tumbler. It probably would have made life a lot easier. But as I said, I don't really want to, and I couldn't really afford to. So I've done it the kind of hard way, kind of the budget Barry way, if you want to use a term one of my streaming gamers use. And yeah, that's the way we're going to go. So a bit more work, a bit more elbow grease, but I think we'll get to the same kind of place in the long run as we would with the tumbler. So yeah, you're going to join me on a journey here, going through probably to hell and back building this thing. But I'll tell you now, I've got the engine built. It's looking absolutely fantastic. And I've enjoyed every second of it so far. So hopefully that'll be a sign of things to come. And we can enjoy this build and build something rather special. Because I'm really eager to get my teeth into this now. And I kind of got to leave it now and go back to a plastic kit. I don't really want to, but I think I kind of need to. So, yes. Anyway, enough from me. Let's jump straight in and let's get started on some prep for the build. Hey everyone, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell notifications, get notified of our latest videos, give the video a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and leave a comment. I do read and appreciate every comment you guys and girls leave behind. I may not reply to them all, but they are all appreciated. And there's a link in the description of the video that takes you to a big long list of all handy videos and a lot of the products I use in my videos. You now have the chance to support the video content creation by using Patreon or the PayPal me link in the description down below. All the videos will always remain free to watch. This is just your chance to help support the videos. Right then, so we're all going to go on a journey together. The journey of what the hell have I gone and bought, which is this white metal, what do I call it? Calamity? Is it going to be a calamity? Are we going to do well? I hope we are. Anyway, I digress. So, first off, main part of this job is a part of the job I do with every kit I do, and it's going through and checking everything is there. Now, on this part, this kit, there are hundreds and hundreds of parts, and I sat here for over probably 4.5 hours in total, and went through and checked off every single part to ensure it was here, from the smallest screws, fittings, white metal, resin, clear parts. As you can see, I had some bits we printed off so I could identify some of the smaller parts a bit easier. If you were in the live hangout that day, live stream, that morning, it was a bit of a head wreck. I'm using my phone to check bits as well. And yes, this is a lot of time. 4.5 hours to check every part in the kit that it was there. Thankfully, everything is there. So it was time well spent in the knowledge that everything I need is in the kit. Now, next part was pick up we're going to work to. We're going to work to step 4, where I've marked that green line with the highlighter. We're going to go through and get all the parts together we require for this section. So we're going to work section by section rather than cleaning all the parts up. And these are all the parts I'm going to need. So there's about 75 in total, including the hose fittings, which aren't shown. So we're going to clean all these up, and then later on in the build, there's about another 50 to add to the engine bay and engine later on. Like I say, we're going to work through steps 1 to 4. So like I say, 75 parts in total. They all need cleaning up, degreasing. Now, you could buy a magnetic tumbler, which will make short work of this. They are a couple £100 for a decent one. I'll be honest, I not only A, didn't have the money, but B, didn't really want to spend that money on that. So I decided to do it the hard way, but we'll get to that in a little bit. While I was here, I also separated all the parts and put them into storage boxes. So these are all the white metal and resin smaller pieces. We also have a pamphlet with all the decals in, photo etch and what have you. And we've got a larger box where I put my models when they're 2K'd, which houses all the bodywork, the actual main body shell, the chassis, and all the larger bodywork resin pieces. And that way, everything's safe, it's out of the way, it's easy for me to get to, and I kind of know where it is. Now, primer, we're going to use some U-Pol acid etch primer. Now, there's many different primers you can use, but I've gone with this. This was £14 for a 480 milliliter spray can from Halfords, which is a Motor Factors in the UK, and we're going to decant it. Now, unlike Tamiya's, another model-related spray paint, this stuff is more volatile than ever. This stuff froths and bubbles up crazily mad. Look how clean my spray booth is now. Look how clean that is. It's all freshly laid out with fresh, clean paper, a fresh filter, and look at it by the end of this, because this stuff just goes mental all by itself. So bear that in mind. Don't fill the bottles up. I filled them up. They frothed over all by themselves in here. No help from me, and of course I have a mess. Now I do have my spray booth on. I've got my respirator on. I've got a glove on my left hand. Don't breathe any of this in. You can see the propellant vaporizing from the top of my index finger. And yeah, like I say, take your time here. I did 2 because I just knew it was going to go everywhere, this stuff. I just had a feeling. As you can see, I filled it up way too much. As you can see, it's already going mental in the background. This is a different one. And as you can see, I'm already spilling bits of it everywhere. And that's already going over the side of the bottle, all over my hand. So yes, this stuff is very, very volatile. So take your time here. Like I say, I left these. They settled pretty quick. I popped the lids loosely over the top, not screwed on, just placed over the top. You can see it go mental now, look. And I came back and it's still gone everywhere. So decant it, leave it to be for a good 6 hours. You can leave that to one side. Now we've got resin parts on this kit, white metal, PE, wires, rubber parts, all sorts. As you can see, they're all kind of dirty. They're not clean. They've all got seam lines on, as you can see about this part here. The beauty of my new lighters, we can come nice and close to the camera. So they've all got seam lines in. We've got a lot of work ahead of us in cleanup, and this is just for the engine. So I've got a whole selection of tools. We've got the Tamiya basic files, which is what we're going to use for the majority of this, for the cleanup. And I've got some of the Suji Rito files we used to sell at UMP. These are more precise, so we've got any little areas we need to get in. We can break out these and file away. And hello, there's me. And then we're going to use UMP sanders as well. So we're going to go through first and deseam all the parts. So using a flat sander, curved sander if you need to get in corners like we do on this hose. And just go gently round and remove all the excess white metal. Now we don't want to flat the edge, so we're not using any pressure. We just go around until the majority of the seam is gone. Now the seam runs from back to the front, so you're going to have to go over every single area of surface. It's a lot of work to do. It really, really is. And this alone, I don't even want to know how long this took. It's another 3 hours, easily 3 hours of sanding and filing. It could be longer actually. Yeah, but again, it'll give us a better finish. And again, the magnetic tumbler, I believe it will, in some regards, take away a bit of this seam work. Not all of it, but I believe it does make a bit of an impact on the seam work. But you're still going to have to do this in the long run anyway. So I opted to do it the hard way, full stop. So, like I say, a little bit of care and attention. Just work your way around. Gentle, no real pressure. We're not trying to, reshape the part. We're just trying to take off the excess metal. So the file's the quickest way of doing it. I'll then come in with a brand new 220 grey thinny sponge. By the end of it is destroyed, absolutely destroyed, just from all the sharp edges of the white metal, the actual white metal blackness itself, which you'll see all of my hands a little bit. I should have a glove on. And like I said, a lot of cleanup. There you go, brand spanking new 220 UMP thinny sponge. And by the end of it, it'll be destroyed. But you can see already we're getting a nice clean surface already. We're just going to lightly go around. We're going to do this to every single white metal part in the kit. And I think on the instructions, there's 280 plus white metal parts alone. So there's a lot in there. Like I say, 125 of those are the engine alone. Some parts don't need the file, they just need a rough go over with the sander. So we're just going to take off any slight burrs or edges and just work our way around. It's a lot of cleanup. Don't be mistaken by this. This is going to take a lot of cleanup. And you've got curved parts like this. It's a lot of work. So be prepared with this. Don't go and buy one of these kits if you're not prepared to put in the work, because trust me, seam lines don't look great on this. I missed one or two very small areas. Luckily, not where they're highly visible, but they're still there. And parts like this are a major pain because you've got so many curved areas and sections, and this is where the multiple tools come in useful. So you can get the sanders on the larger areas, get the files on the seams, and the files can fit in between like that, and get the parts off inside as well. So like I say, don't be mistaken, it's not going to take a lot of work. It is. And don't think it's going to be a long build. Now, this is the first step of this build, and I get over 13 hours of footage, and I've already got 3 videos. 3 videos from this. This is the first one. I've got 3 other half-hour segments because it's that important to show some of this work. I've left so much of it in because, like I say, I want to go on a journey with you guys and girls, and we'll see how it's done, how I'm going to do it. Now, like I said, the magnetic tumbler would have cleaned all these parts up. I've not got one. So I read online, use some white vinegar. So as you can see, I've got an old Johnson's baby bud, cotton bud lid there, and I've been soaking these parts in there for a while, and you can see just how well they're coming up just from the vinegar alone. We've been cleaned up and left to soak in the acidic vinegar, and then hit it with a toothbrush. We're getting a nice clean surface. So my thought was, we'll do this, give them all a good toothbrush clean up all the parts, go through. Like I said, there's a lot to get to, so it is very time consuming, but it's going to be worth it at the end. But as you can see, just the vinegar alone makes a big difference on cleaning up these parts, degreasing them. It doesn't get rid of everything, but it does get rid of a lot of the grime and the muck. You can feel, I said this in the review, the greasiness of it all. Once you've gone around with the vinegar, clean the toothbrush off. We've got some fairy liquid, which is washing up liquid, Dawn soap, wherever you want to call it, in some warm water, and we're going to go around and fully degrease the part now. So this will degrease it, and we'll do that to all the separate parts as well. So basically, we've got acid, take off anything that may be properly stuck on there. The washing up liquid, Dawn soap, fairy, wherever you're using. I think mine's from Aldi or Lidl. It's pink, isn't it? Look. I don't know how I get to. I haven't got a clue. I don't do dishes. Shock horror. I know. I'm not very domesticated. It's a shock. I know. So don't do this. It degreases it all. Gets any nasties off there. It shouldn't be there. And as a final step, we're going to hit it with some Pre airbrush cleaner, and that is an alcohol-based cleaner then. And then that can be just left to air dry or wiped over a clean piece of kitchen cloth, and that's as good as I can do. So it did bring the parts up really well. The before and after shot, I don't think I've got one, but it's night and day difference. It did make a big difference doing it. So yeah, it's worth doing. Take your time. You're going to get the best finish you possibly can. Resin, we've just hit with the dish soap. And now, obviously, the vinegar not really doing into this, but if there's anything on it, it'll be mold release. So the dish soap, fairy liquid will get that off, no bother at all. And there we go, some Pre airbrush cleaner in there as well. We're going to pop all the parts in, and we'll just clean them up as they come out. So that's it. Belts and braces, it's as good as we can do for sure. But I think at this stage, it's very, very important to clean all the parts. Obviously, deburr them all first. Otherwise, you're just going to get stuff on them all over again, fingerprints and what have you. With the resin part, we'll just give them a rinse. We're just using this like a final rinse, basically. It's alcohol-based, so it'll evaporate off as well. Like I say, best thing we can do, other than paying £200 for a magnetic tumbler, which does do a fantastic job. I'm quite happy to do this. Now, another thing became apparent at the end as well. The magnetic tumblers lightly kind of take away a bit of the surface, so they remove all the imperfections. When I put a wash on the end, the imperfections were showing through, and it kind of had a bit of a realism to some of the parts, because all machine parts aren't perfect, and I think it kind of had a little bit of a look to it. So they've been soaking in there for a good half an hour. That'll do us. Out they pop on some kitchen paper. We'll let them air dry, give them a bit of a dry if we need the parts quick. But there we go. You can see the difference. They've got a nice bit of sheen to them, and it's certainly the best job I can do on a budget. Budget Barry should be my nickname. But it's as good as we're going to do. Like I say, if someone else finds use for doing this, all I can say in a bit, I have no problems at all with any adhesion of primer or paint or when I'm masking. None at all. Everything laid down perfect. So whatever I did must have worked quite well. But if you want to buy a magnetic tumbler, go for it. I've seen them cheaper. You can get around the £117 mark, but the reviews are a bit iffy. And if you're going to do a lot of these, and I guess it's worth it, at this stage, I didn't know. Am I going to do more? I don't know now. I've got the engine built so far, spoiler alert, and I do fancy more, but I think we're going to build this and figure out where we're going. So, like I said, we can wipe these down with a clean piece of kitchen paper, and you can see the difference. They've got a nice bit of sheen to them now. They look a lot cleaner. They're all degreased. We can be confident in putting our primer down. And know that hopefully we shouldn't get any reactions from any nasties that are still on the surface, or any contaminants or leftover swarf. And yes, we should be able to get a nice coat of primer down on them. So the resin parts, again, we're just going to leave as is for now. We've rinsed them in the alcohol. They don't need to be acid etch primed. We're just going to prime them in Mr. Surfacer. But I think for the white metal, I think it's important to get that kind of acid etch. There's numerous primers you can get out there from SMS. Mr. Hobby does them, and they're clear because it's not really a primer. It's like what's the word? An adhesive coating. I don't know how you want to refer to it. Bride's got the U-Pol. U-Pol's a good name. It's grey, so I'm going to be able to see it well. And that was my reason for doing it. It was cheap, half a litre for £14, and it's going to go a long way. So if I do build more of these, I've got plenty of primer, and like I say, I know it does a good job. But so far, looking through this, I'm using a clean piece of kitchen paper, and it's not really coming black at all. So it shows that overall, I've cleaned the parts really well. And to me, that's the most important part. And I've done it on a budget as well. What's it cost me? £2-3 from white vinegar. Nothing for the detergent, and a little bit of UMP airbrush cleaner. Cost me less than £5 to clean all the parts up. Probably no near £5. And that's better than spending 200 quid. Like I say, if you're going to build a lot of them, I can see the benefit in having one. Now, we have lots and lots of holes to drill. I believe it's 72 in total. Now, when I was looking through, I was like, nah, can't be that many. But after drilling them all, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, it might be. So I've got my Tamiya pin vise, my micro Bosch, my micro Bosch shank drill bits. I think these are 2.4mm shank drill bits. I always prefer these. They just seem to have a little bit more lateral strength than your standard drill bits, and just seem to be a bit more resilient from snapping. 2.35mm they are. So these are always my favourites. This pack here you can get from my Amazon store. They're 0.5 to, I think it's a 2.5mm, 3mm. And like I said, we've got a lot of holes to drill. So make sure you orientate all the parts correctly to the instructions, refer to them, and make sure you drill the right holes where they should be. If you're unsure, put a pilot hole in rather than going too big. And then you can always re-drill after priming should you wish, or belt and braces like I'm going to do. We're going to make sure near enough everything fits. I think I forgot about 12 holes in total that were easily drilled out later, mainly because I didn't spot them. But all the major holes are drilled. And like I say, if you're not sure, drill a smaller hole first. I think that's what I do here. This is a slightly smaller drill bit than required. You're better to go too small than going too big, because you don't want the parts flapping around in the breeze. Like I say, clean out, blow it out, get the part, check it. No, just too small. So we go the next size up, nice and quick. Tap it out, there we go, and this should fit just nice now. There we go, perfect fit. Look at that, perfect. And that's what you need to do. Go around all these holes, drill them all out. There is a lot of them. Be very careful with the drill bit. Don't snap them in the resin because that's just going to cause nothing but trouble. And just be very careful and mindful of what you're doing because it is resin. It looks like plastic. I'm not going to lie. It looks a lot like plastic. I've doubted this a couple of times thinking, that isn't plastic. That isn't resin. It's plastic. And no, it is. It's resin. It really is. But like I say, every part needs to be drilled out. Every part needs to be test fitted. So again, another time consuming afternoon. But well worth it because when you painted it all, you can come back safe in the knowledge it's all going to fit together. Like I say, there's a lot of holes to drill. There really, really is. It might be worthwhile circling them on the instructions. I didn't do it. I just work through them as we go. I'm live on a live stream most of the time here, so I'm kind of working systematically while talking to everybody on the live stream. So I just work through the instructions, and I'm just going to do little mini sub-assemblies to test fit everything and make sure everything fits. It's simple, really. It's very time-consuming, as I said about 12 times. But please go through, make sure you pre-drill these holes, make sure you test fit everything, because there's a few pieces that need a little bit of manipulating back into shape, because it is white metal, it's very malleable. It's easy to misshape, and it's very easy to put back in place, so you're better doing it now than when it's painted. And then on parts like this, on this inlet manifold, we've got the injectors to put on, which are on a slight angle. So there's 4 of those. Just be careful you don't drill all the way through. You don't need to drill that deep. You're better off putting a little pilot there first and then having to drill deeper later if you need to. And then we've got 4 holes on the bottom of it as well for the fuel rail. But we only need to drill 2 holes. So like I say, go through the instructions, make sure you follow everything systematically and go through and make sure it's all drilled together. Now, I had loads of footage. I've cut out loads. I've kept in as much as I can. I've got a lot more in depth on this build than I normally would because there's so much more to show and so many different techniques that we are going to dwell on bits a bit longer. So I hope you don't find it boring. But, this is the first kit of these I've built. And I think it'd be nice if we all go through it together and share the pain and misery of what it'll probably be. I am joking, of course. It is going to be a difficult build, but hopefully it'll go through okay. Now, underneath where the sump fits, we've got a hole either end for the sump. Make sure it goes around the right way because it will fit on the wrong way. Ask me how I know. And we've got the cam cover on the side, but there is a screw to hold what is the gearbox differential, I suppose it is. I don't know what it is. So there is a screw there as well. The sump just needs a little bit of manipulation to get it to fit in place. Just a little bit of a tight fit, which is better than being loose. And then I did glue this in place before we painted it all as well. And there we go, very nice fit in there as well. And then lots of little parts to paint up. So what I opted to do, I needed some connectors, I needed some hose unions, hose joints, and I thought, let's just prime them all together. They're all got seams on. I'm not going to lie, I didn't spot the seams till Jamie pointed them out and I have my Optivisor on. They do all have seams on. So these are all primed and painted. Luckily, where all the seams are, where they're going to be hand painted in red and blue for the unions, so it doesn't make any difference. But basically, we're going to acid etch prime these with everything else. And then Mr. Surfacer black prime them, and then give them a base colour of whatever Tamiya silver I have a lot of. Because like I said, we're going to brush paint the anodized unions on, so not much of a bother. So there we go. There's all the parts mounted. So we've got 1 tray, 2 tray, 3 tray. All this just for the first stage of the engine build. So a lot to get through. So we've got a lot of priming to do. And here we go. So the acid etchers, we did this the day before. Probably 2 days, actually, I think it was. It took me 2 days to get to this stage, which shows you how long the cleanup and what have you took. Just give it all a mix up with a Badger paint mixer. Do not do this if you're still off gassing, because this stuff will be everywhere. There we go. Wipe off your mixer. And then we're going through an apex. This is my kind of spare apex. There was a bit of talk with the lads about it, the acid etch sticking to the airbrush, but no, I don't think it will. It certainly didn't this time. And we're going to put down a couple of coats down. Now this is quite thick out the can. I didn't want to thin it, so I didn't thin it at all because I thought it might lose some of its properties with different thinner in. So it is quite thick, so it can go on in quite a thick coat. We're 20 psi, UMP Apex 0.35mm needle. I'm just going to put a couple of light coats down, well, a couple of heavyish coats actually, like I say. Because it is so thick, it can go on quite heavy. It does have microfilling properties. But more importantly, this is to just get a nice key etch to the metal. And there you go. Already, there's our cam cover. Looking good. This is going to be red, so that's going to be primed in pink later on. And we're going to go through and prime every part. Now, I'm not going to show every single part. I just thought I'd show it through. But this beautiful primer, really nice. Stinks to high heaven. Some of the worst smelling primer I've ever used. Very powdery on your hands as well. But it does the job that we want it to. It should chemically etch itself to the white metal and give us the best possible surface prep we can have. Now, like I say, SMS, Mr. Hobby and that do a clear acid etch primer or metal primer, which is essentially the same thing. Problem is with the clear stuff, you can't really see it going down as well. So for me, this was the easier option and cheaper in the long run. So like I said, we're not going to show all the parts because we'll be here all day. But we're just going to show some of the more prominent parts. And like I say, a couple of fairly heavy coats, keep saying light, around everything until we've got a nice even coating on everything. And laid down beautiful, really, really nice. Nice even grey colour. And like all these small parts, we've got lots to do. Like I say, 75 parts here. Don't know if I mentioned that. I think it's 75? 75. And yeah, we're not going to dilly-dally around. Just going to get everything primed. Hence the speed of primer. Now, if you joined the live stream in the past few days, I added an extra cam in the spray booth so you could sit and watch me prime. So editing this video, got a few funny moments where I'm giving the video a thumbs up and waving because people are talking to me. Cut those out luckily as I look like a lunatic. But I'm going to put a webcam in the spray booth so when I'm live you can actually watch me spraying, because you know that's another dimension to it, doesn't it? And means I can spray a bit easier because I'm not so ignorant and ignoring people. And like I say, second coat going on, nice and simple, beautiful to spray, and it does its job absolutely wonderful. Did go through quite a bit of it. Like I said, there's a lot of parts, so you are going to go through quite a bit of it. But no problems with this. Let it off gas, airbrush it. Make sure you clean the airbrush out thoroughly when you're done with lacquer thinner, and you shouldn't have any problems whatsoever. Now the resin, I'm going to prime this same day with Mr. Surfacer Black. That's all that's going on this. No etch primer on this. I'm just going to prime up all these parts with a couple of coats of black. Mr. Surfacer 1500, thinner Mr. Leveling Thinner. Again, 20 psi, 18 psi for the UMP Apex. And again, as always, covers wonderful. Gives us a nice black base for everything else. We will do this to the grey part with acid etched as well. But for today, it's just another bit of progress on the engine. And onto the gearbox housing itself. Some nice chunky bits of resin, surprisingly heavy. This model is going to be very, very heavy when it's complete. Very heavy. The engine alone weighs a ton. When I've finished at the end of this part 3, you'll see later down the line. It's going to be unbelievably heavy. But just beautiful. Just a lovely kit. Pleasure to build already. Even just at this stage, just clean up. I can see how much fun the kit's going to be. It's going to be a challenge. I mean, no, denial about that at all. It's definitely going to be a challenge. But hopefully you can stick with me and we'll get through to the end. Now, somebody asked me today how many parts it's going to be. Oh my God, I have no idea. But from 13 hours of footage, I've got 3 half-hour parts already. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot. It's going to be a journey, that is for sure. But like I say, hopefully you'll stick around and follow me through the build. And we can get our first Model Factory Hero kit built. Maybe we can look at getting another further down the line. Problem is, it's £640. They're not cheap at all. Now, it's the next day. The acid etch primer has fully dried. In fact, it could be that evening. I think I did only leave it 6 hours. I primed it in the morning, and I primed it later that evening in the Mr. Surfacer. Mr. Surfacer 1500 Black. Same as what we just did the gearbox and engine parts with. Just going to give them all a light coat over of this. And this is going to be the base for our metallic work then. So lots and lots of little parts to do. Like I say, these will be used throughout the build. These are all the unions and fittings and bolts and what have you that are used throughout the build. But I thought, rather than me faffing and picking out which ones I need, we'll just do the entire lot. And then like the larger parts like this, you can see coverage is really well, especially over an already primed surface. The Mr. Service of 1500 black goes down absolutely beautiful. Get all these little nooks and crannies. And we can ensure it's all primed. So like I say, we are going to dwell a bit more than usual. I'm going to take my time on parts, show things in a bit more depth, and kind of show the journey of this build along its way. But I think good surface prep, primer, paint is a very important stage of any build. And I'm glad to show it in this. I might not show it as in depth on later ones, later parts. So remember this bit, and if you want to see any surface prep, you can come back and have a look at this. But we've still got a lot of parts to do this to over the course of the next God knows how long. And like I say, for the engine cam cover, we're going to paint this red. So we're going to prime in Tamiya fine surface spray pink primer. So this has been decanted. It's been let off gas. It's thinned with Tamiya lacquer thinner retarder, about 10-15%. And again, UMP Apex, 18-ish PSI. A couple of coats down to get a nice base pink primer colour. And that's it. So we're going to leave it here today. This is the end of part 1. I know, it's a bit of a cliffhanger, but part 2 and part 3 are edited, ready to go. But the next video you'll see of me will probably be part 3 of the Lamborghini. That should have been up first, but I kind of bumped it back a bit to get the first part of this up. So hope you like that I did that. And yeah, let's go back to me. Okay, there we go. So that's where we're at today. We've got everything primed for the engine, not the whole kit. The white vinegar worked really, really well. It did take off a lot of the surface contaminants. I could see the colour of the vinegar. It went very discoloured after being left in there for a few hours. Cleanup's difficult. It's very laborious. It really is, but it's worth it in the long run. It works well. It gives a good result. Acid Edge primer worked fantastic. It's messy to decant. It's absolutely. If you can see the state of my spray booth now, I'll get a picture of it for the next part after painting, because it looks like a bomb's gone off on there. The amount of paint I've used just to get this thing done. It's crazy. So the Acid Edge primer is quite volatile, so be careful if you decant that. But the U-Pulse stuff worked absolutely brilliant. And I had no issues with paint adhesion, even when masking and handling the parts. No issues whatsoever. So yes, highly recommend that for sure. And like I say, as a start of the journey, checking off all those parts is soul destroying. It really is. That was 4.5 hours of just mind-numbingly awful work, trying to find all the parts. But as we were saying in the hangout, now the other news to this is my buddy Jamie. You might have seen his Alfa Romeo model factory Hiro kit being built on ISM. Beautiful. He's the guy who's responsible for me buying this, because watching him build that thing kind of got my juices flowing. Now he's very nearly finished his Alfa, and he's pulled out his Lancia now. He's got the same kit as me. He's got this kit, and he's going to build it with me. So we're going to have a buddy build of this. You're going to see 2 of them built. Which is awesome. We'll spare each other along, you know, hints and tips and what to do and what not to do. So if you're watching this, Jamie, you're a git for making me buy this. But thank you, mate. I'm glad you kind of pushed me over, because if you told me 2 months ago I'd have one of these kits, I'd have been like, I've heard so many horror stories about them that's always put me off, but I've always wanted to build one, and I'm glad I got pushed over into doing it. So thank you, mate. Although I may not be thanking you in a couple of months or weeks, might I? But we can go through the paint together, can't we? We will. So, like I say, you get 2 for 1 here. You get to see Jamie's. And if Jamie sends me some update pictures, I'll share them on here as well. And we can share Jamie's building amongst mine along the way. So that's good for me. It means somebody I've got some shoulder to cry on about the same thing. But yeah, there we are. So like I say, there's 2 other videos ready to go. The next one covers painting and the start of the assembly of the engine. And the third one finishes it. So there's another 2 half-hour videos to come on this. They'll get released over the next week or so. I've still got part 3 of the Lamborghini to put up. Was supposed to be ahead of this one, but that many people have been asking about this. I decided to bump it forward. I think it's right to do. So yes, part 3 of the Lamborghini will be up in a couple of days. It's a 50-minute video, so it's going to take a bit of a voiceover to do, and we'll get that out there as well. Don't forget, if you're a patron, you've got early access on these videos. You're watching these 2 weeks before everybody else. If you're not, you're watching them 2 weeks after the patrons already watch them. You want to take advantage of my Patreon and get early release videos, as well as 2 exclusive live streams a week. There's links in the description down below. You need to be tier 2 or higher. I think it's about £3 a month for that. And you get early access on all my videos. And currently, there's an A50 BMW review. The review of this, which is due to go up. You will have seen these by now if you're watching on ISM. My bench update, part 1 of the BMW and part 3 of the Lamborghini. So there's 5 videos already waiting there that people have already seen on my Patreon. So if you want to become a patron, links down below. Come on over, join my supporters, and know that you're keeping these videos going with your support. So there we are. I thank you to everyone that is still supporting me. Thank you very much, everyone. You're all legends. And yes, I hope you're enjoying the early access to the videos. If you are watching this in early access, leave a comment down below. And if you're not, leave a comment down below. Click that bell notification. That's not the bell notification. Click that bell notification. Click the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe and leave a comment. I like to read to all your comments and heart everyone if I've read them. So there we are. Let's get to this stage because I know what I've done and I've got a bit of leeway now. So back to the BMW A50 next, I think, is the plan. So hopefully you'll see the next part of that out soon. And then I've still got 2 more of these to come out, so you'll see these through the week as well. So a lot of videos done lately, so hopefully it keeps you entertained. Anyway, enough waffle. I'll catch you all next time. Enjoy the rest of the evening, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.